In such a vast game like Dark Souls, developers have to make many original weapon designs, enemy mob designs, and armor sets. Since Dark Souls, there have been 5 new games using this same formula, requiring more and more creative ideas for these concepts. And that's not even mentioning Demon Souls, that came before Dark Souls, the many DLCs of these games, teetering the edge of just being a sequel sometimes, and that as the years go by, the newest example, Elden Ring, has to be way more vast and requires more designs and better designs than previous games. After thousands of hours with players and developers consuming themselves in these worlds and designs, with armor sets arguably being the most important besides the world, because it's on your screen at all times when you play these games. And that's what makes you and the other NPCs or players unique and immersed in the dark fantasy setting. But out of the hundreds of armor sets in these games, there's only one that is as recognizable, masterfully designed, and objectively the best. And that armor set is just an overweight jelly roll man with a big onion for a head. Even if it's not your favorite armor set, you can't deny that it is infamous for its creatively humorous design and instantly recognizable just from its silhouette. It is commonly within the top 5 armor sets for Souls fans, and the first time you will catch a glimpse of this set is in Dark Souls 1, when you see Siegmeyer of Catarina sitting outside of Sen's fortress with a fitting dopey voice.
Forgive me, I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegmeyer of Catarina.
This armor, which is formerly known as the Catarina set, is guaranteed to amuse you in some way when you first encounter it, whether that be a blind first playthrough of Dark Souls or the internet spreading this iconic design in high regard. But how did the Catarina set come to be? In a Miyazaki interview regarding the design works in Dark Souls 1, shout out to the Souls Lore Wiki, Miyazaki states the Catarina set was designed by a FromSoft veteran artist, Waragai, I think that's how you say it, that's how I'm gonna say it, so let's hope it's right, long before we started work on the game. In fact, not long after he joined the company. We actually asked him to produce a number of designs, not for any specific project, but more as a kind of test to help us decide which development team to attach him to. That's my Miyazaki impression. One of these designs was an overweight character, which reminds Miyazaki of Bezuzo from Berserk. So shout out to the 2 pages Bezuzo was alive in Berserk, because his legacy will live on forever. The idea Waragai had that birthed the greatest armor set in all of fantasy was simply, how would you construct armor for someone who's really overweight? But though it may not be that obvious until you meet Sieglinde, the Catarina set is just a traditional armor that people of Catarina wear, and doesn't mean that they're actually fat. Miyazaki says, although Siegmeyer isn't actually fat, it's just his armor. It's the strange little details like this that I really like about it. If there's one thing I regret about the Catarina armor, it's that I wasn't able to show the helmet opening. It's designed to do that, and I have a mental image of Siegmeyer popping it open and hungrily guzzling down some food. I just wasn't able to fit it anywhere in the game. Continuing on the wearers behind the onion-shaped mask, you may notice that the armor has a small slit across the helmet where you can vaguely see the face inside. While talking about Sieglinde, the daughter of Siegward, also seen wearing the Catarina set, Miyazaki quotes a moment where, fairly early in development, I was actually talking about the game abroad when I blurted out something about her being beautiful. Once I'd done that, I couldn't go back on my word, which I think is perfect because I haven't seen Siegmeyer or Sieglinde without their mask on, but I think it's great to imagine that the people behind these silly armor look beautiful and handsome. But the infamy of this armor is only partly due to the design, and partly due to the lore. The Sieg brothers are such memorable and great characters, partly due to the design and their story. Also partly to that great voice performance that matches his character perfectly. In the Dark Souls games, the Catarina Knights are always a breath of fresh air in a depressing setting. In Dark Souls 1 and 3, you meet Siegmeyer and Sigurd, who are basically the same guy, just at different time periods. Their common traits are being seen thinking of a solution to a problem, before the player ends up solving it for them. In Dark Souls 1, this happens one too many times and causes Siegmeyer to go hollow, and Sieglin being the one to have to put him down. In that earlier interview, Miyazaki says, Siegmeyer's story, including his touching final scene, is actually enchanted by the fact that he's wearing that armor. Though sad, this is the outcome of every Dark Souls 1 questline, so it's not too shocking. But I do enjoy the theory that the whole reason Siegmeyer is on his adventure in Lordran is to prove that he can do stuff for himself, but the player ruins that whole thing and causes him to die. I always prefer the Dark Souls 3 questline. Sigurd is seen thinking of a solution to face the fire demon, and he ends up helping the player when they take the matters into their own hands. After you defeat the fire demon, Sigurd will sit down and offer the player a drink before falling asleep. This is because, quote, Catarina is a land known for their festivity, drinks, and the joviality of its people. Dark Souls 3 does a better job of showing this, but the best part of this questline is during the Yorm fight. You go into his arena and Sigurd just walks up and you find out that Sigurd befriended Yorm and was entrusted to defeat Yorm if he ever became exhumed from his grave. And the best part is you get his armor set after this, even though he dies. Rest in peace. It helps this armor gain more fame and memorability than if it was only seen on an enemy, like the Winged Knight. So despite reducing your stamina for a second for every piece you have on, and being one of the heaviest sets, the Catarina set is not only the best armor in the Dark Souls trilogy, but the best in all of Elden Soulsborne games. All it takes is a great design and great characters. But if you disagree and have a better armor set in mind, comment down below, because I would love for some healthy discussion. And if you're lucky, I might say something horrible to you if your opinion's bad.